Hello and welcome to another episode of DC Alliance, Chapter 51. With me, as always, is my co-host Clay. Clay, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. I just got finished eating some hot wings. If there is a lot of noise in the background, I just told Travis. Apparently, my dog had cocaine for dinner tonight, and he is going a little wild. So don't mind him. But we do have a lot to talk about today. There's a
Yeah,
pretty big announcement that we kind of saw coming
yeah,
because of last night. But I want to say it was expected, but a lot of the fan reaction is kind of, just fan reaction.
yeah.
I'll just say that.
People are getting up in arms. Yeah, what Clay is talking about is a big purchase, a big thing that just dropped today, actually. Uh, before we get into all that, I'm just going to do the quick network plug to get that out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with podcasts 7 days a week, 9 in total. On Mondays is World's Finest True Believers. On Tuesdays, this show DC Alliance. On Wednesdays is Marvel Alliance. On Thursdays is Slice of Film, Star Wars Alliance, and Ranger Alliance. Ranger Alliance is moving to Mondays on the 31st of May, and that will be rotating bi-weekly with World's Finest True Believers. On Fridays is Superhero Discussions. On Saturdays and Sundays is Weird Science Comics DC and Marvel Roundup. And that's all the shows we have. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, $1 tier, which is like the tip jar. You like what we're doing and you just want to help out. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras, you get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusives. So I think that's it. I want to thank anyone and everyone that is a patron and anyone and everyone that listen and share the show, like, engage, and all that stuff. Couldn't thank you anymore for that. Whew, that was a mouthful, but I got it done pretty quick, Clay. Let's get into the big holy crap of today.
Yes. Well, we do have some stuff that we are going to just go over because there is small snippets of other news that went around since the last time we talked. One of the big ones. I mean, it's on its it was something that was on the slate. We already knew this was happening, and it's really funny because this isn't the first time we've seen that it's in production. What I'm getting at is that Shazam 2 is in production. Did you notice the picture that Zachary Levi posted?
No, but I did notice the picture of the basically they're in place, just a little symbol they had in place. This is just
with the Gatorade lightning bolt.
Yeah, and I did notice people got rather contrary about that, and David Sandberg had to go on and be like, "Guys, chill out. This is just like a title card thing. This is nothing. This is just a thing we do just to start off. Like it's not the official logo of the movie."
Zachary Levi apparently, and I saw the picture. I'm not sure if it was necessarily his photo or what, but it was a photo of a Shazam action figure on top of some sort of cabinet, cupboard, whatever you want to, shelf, whatnot, and then right behind him, the action figure was like a bowl of weed. It was just sitting there. It was just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. If he's stationed in California, you're okay with that, or here in Canada, by the way.
So, Zachary Levi lives in Austin, Texas, where it is not legal. So I was like, okay, that's
somebody's brave. Somebody's brave.
Yeah. People were getting a laugh out of that as well. I'm just like, cool. Let's. I want to see more set photos. I'm curious to see if there's going to be, because I believe there is an improvement on his costume with this movie. I want to see what those are. Because a lot of people really didn't like the set photos of the first Shazam movie. I thought they were fine, because when you see something on set compared to the final production, completely different, So I'm pretty excited to see what Shazam 2 is going to look like. Sorry.
I love Shazam 1, and this is the one thing when movies are in production with WB I'm hesitant. When they're actually filming, this is filming now. They're here in development. Sorry, not in production. When they're in development, like we spent so much time in the last 50 chapters talking about new guys, and it was tasked. So until we get, this is where I have never seen a DC movie yet where they were actually in production and shut it all down. Don't say Justice League Mortal, because that was writer's strike that was cause of that. That wasn't like shutting it down because we didn't want to do it. That's one thing I haven't seen WB DC do yet, is shut down a movie in production. So when they get in production, like The Flash, I know Brent and Chris make jokes about it not actually happening, but when we get in production, I actually believe it. So I'm excited for this movie, Clay, and I think with it going in production now, if fandom still goes ahead, I could see that definitely showing up there. Just something, maybe a quick look or even first trailer.
Yeah, for sure. Next on the docket is this pretty wild statement that Zach made. This was not expected from a lot of people, but at the same time, not surprising. Zach said in an interview, I can't remember which, trade or what not that he was doing. I think it was a video interview actually. And he told the interviewee, or the interviewer, sorry, that WB is very anti-Snyder at the moment. And that, people really shouldn't expect too much going forward. And that kind of ties into our big topic of the night, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But I think this is smart for Snyder to do. Because, for one, there is still a massive wave of people just, throwing out the Restore the Snyderverse out there and asking him all of these Justice League questions. And in my mind, with such a toxic relationship that he was in with WB, like, if you've ever had a toxic relationship with a significant other and people just keep asking you about that relationship, is it something you really want to talk about? I know I wouldn't.
Not really. I wouldn't imagine, no.
Yeah, no. So for Zach, he's found his place in Netflix, and they are doing awesome with marketing that movie. I haven't watched it yet. Apparently in WWE Backlash, they had The Miz eaten by zombies.
They had a UFC synergy commercial as well, where a former UFC fighter was like acting as a cop and came upon a zombie fight, essentially like a zombie fight club where people would fight zombies. Like that's how you test it yourself. And this guy lost to the zombie, and zombie ate him, and then so I didn't see the.
So Travis says this is awful, just awful. I have heard that it is apparently.
That I watched?
No, he's talking about Backlash. I heard
tell him
Backlash
to go watch the UFC one, please.
Apparently, the Backlash fight was possibly the worst fight WWE has ever broadcasted. A good friend of mine, co-host of the Batman News Weekly podcast, Juice from the Box here on YouTube, he told me that he watched it and it was horrible. So if he says it, I believe it.
I think I saw a minute of it where they were fighting with zombies outside the ring. Maybe it did not look good. The UFC one looked really good. It looked like it was. I thought it was a scene from Army of the Dead. Like I thought it was from the first 15 minutes, because I haven't watched that yet. And it was actually good. Like it was semi-acting, and he didn't interact with the zombie. So I think that's probably what made it a good scene. Still, I can't really imagine seeing that UFC. Like it was good the way they showed it, and I think it could tie into Army in terms of the way they are with zombies. They're not exactly how you portray them in the other things, that the world completely shut down. They just boarded off essentially Vegas in the Army movie. So I like it. I will be interested to hear Snell's thoughts, but
well, I say that because like he has found people that are legitimately willing to be like, hey, this is your production. You're making us money. You're bringing in a wave of an audience. So we're going to push this movie as much as possible. And I think that's a really good relationship for him to be in. So for WB to be anti-Snyder, okay, let them be anti-Snyder.
When they put the movie in 600 theaters, I think it was 600, that alone is enough to show me how much a better relationship is. Where he could only get charity screenings for Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah,
like that's it, only a few. So just the night and day difference. I think I'm loving that the gloves are off and he's saying a few things here. I know some people are complaining that he got his movie made, but they didn't let him put Green Lantern in. And you talk about this being a multiverse, like Clay, you love to say it. How many times did we hear multiverse in DC fandom?
they don't. The whole thing that I like to say with this whole statement of the multiverse, they heard the idea of the multiverse and they're just like, oh, that sounds cool. We'll just use that whenever somebody asks us, hey, what are you going to do with this character? Multiverse. Okay. What are you going to do with this franchise? Multiverse. Okay. Well, what are you going to do with this character inside of your own world that you created for the DCEU? Multiverse. Sorry, that's not how it works. Multiverse. It's just like they don't know. They don't know the definition of a multiverse. They don't. I'm sorry. It's just.
And the fun thing too is with this, in concert with this quote and this whole round of press, Zach also showed us our first look at the official Green Lantern.
Yes, and I believe that was at a screening of Army of the Dead. Yeah. I woke up to this. I woke up to my co-host for Comic Book Legion texting me and said, "Is this real?" And so my eyes were like barely open, this bright light hitting my eyes from my phone, and it looks so pixelated. I'm like, that's got to be photoshopped 100%. So I searched Twitter, of course, going to the normal outlets that I usually go to. And then I saw the actual video. I believe Chris from Marvel Alliance actually posted the video earlier that day.
It's a good bit. It's just, if it's in our chat, it's a hard 95% chance Chris has shared it.
Yes. But he meaning Zach, did show the actual look of Green Lantern. Now, nobody has been able to get an HD photo out there, and that's most likely because of a statement Zach said a while back. He said, well, I was always just worried about WB suing me. And at this point, he's just like, whatever. I'm having the time of my life at Netflix. One pixelated photo that people are going to screen grab from other people's cameras is not going to hurt me whatsoever. So he just showed them. And from even a pixelated photo, I would love to see it HD, but it looks good. He did say that he wanted a non-CGI suit.
Just time constraints. Yeah.
Time constraints did not allow him, to get that that normal suit without CGI.
Yeah, but that's just something that if you went back, like he's supposed to be featured in the Nightmare. He's supposed to be alive in the Nightmare timeline. Sorry. So you could go back and fix that as well. That's just This is just a. But the funny thing for me was it was just a one scene. Like that was where the Martian Manhunter appeared at the end. That was supposed to be John Stewart and Kilowog. And he just didn't, like, that doesn't seem to be enough to me to, if you're going to let the Flash go back in time and completely change things before his own movie, I don't understand why you get so out-mouthed about John Stewart being there. It really just seemed...
Multiverse.
Yeah, sorry.
Multiverse.
Yeah, you're
multiverse.
Right.
Multiverse.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Multiverse.
No qualms. That's a perfect explanation. Yeah, but yeah, I just love that Snyder's don't care. Deborah Snyder's the same way. She's saying like, we never even got numbers. No one told us anything. Like,
and that's the crazy thing. Again, a lot of these stories are starting to tie into what our main topic will be.
Yeah,
and everybody knows what our main topic will be.
Competence, people. Competence.
Yes,
that brought you to this place.
Yes, Travis. We all know that you love content. We know.
Oh my God! They're turning me into kindergarten cop. They're turning me into kindergarten cop moment.
No, it's totally in because of me. I know it is. I am a negative Nancy whenever it comes to the idea or just the thought. Well, I guess the thought is an idea of WB. Like I'm fed up with them. I honestly am. And although this whole shakeup that happened today has a lot of people smiling, googly-eyed, and hopeful for the future. Nothing is changing. Like,
You're more of
unfortunately.
a fool me once, shame on you. Fool
Oh
me
no,
782 times.
no,
I'm an
no.
idiot.
Here's the problem. Fool me once. Okay, once is 2017 Justice League. Fool me twice is the article that immediately came out the day after Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm not even bothering with anything else they want to try to sell me. Like, I'm not.
We have some things to talk about with that. We're gonna hold that pin until we finish a few of these other rapid
So
fire news
the
questions because
the
there's something I want to go back to you about that I want to know if your attitude will change if
okay.
things may happen. So, yeah.
So there are two other articles that we can kind of just throw in together because they both deal with Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
In the same interview, Margot Robbie answered two questions. Well, answered one and then gave information to the public with her statement. So the first one was asking about Birds of Prey 2, right? Is there plans for a Birds of Prey 2? The quote that she says is that it doesn't look like it's on the docket at the moment. She has no idea whether WB wants to do this or not. I'm going to ask you because I know I had my opinions on Birds of Prey. I will say this was right before COVID. I had a horrible theater experience with Birds of Prey. But then I watched it later, and although I didn't like a lot of what was going on in the movie, it was better than my theater experience. So I was able to like knock it up a few notches on my grading or score of the movie. So what is your opinion? Like, do you think there should be a Birds of Prey 2?
Yes, first of all, they said I loved it. If you were asking me just on my personal opinion of the movie, I really enjoyed it. I think it might be in my top 5 DC movies. Maybe I got to do another rewatch.
We
The
are
top
complete
three,
opposite.
the top 3 are no, we're not in complete opposite. I got a feeling your top 3, my top 3 are as solid as this fist in terms of the same 3. I think I could be wrong. I
Okay.
think they're all from a certain director. For mine are anyway. So, but I really enjoyed it, Clay. I had a really good theater experience, but I hate to say this all the time, but COVID isn't nearly the thing here on my island that it is anywhere else, even in parts of Canada like Toronto and Vancouver, where close to where Snell is. Like it hasn't really affected me much minor besides having to wear masks in stores. The outbreaks haven't gotten bad here. So my theater experiences haven't been that bad, especially when Birds of Prey came out. People were super scared to go to the theater. So, or just before that. So I went, I really enjoyed it. And then what really heightened my experience was getting to watch it with my girlfriend. I think this is the only DC movie she's watched besides Suicide Squad. Actually, she wanted to watch Suicide Squad after watching this with me. And she really enjoyed it. She really did. She thought that the violence was a little over the top for her, like just some of the times when they broke guys' limbs. It kind of made her cringe a little bit, but she enjoyed the story, and that made me enjoy it more. Which that's the first time that's happened to me. I like to see someone else see it and see them enjoy it. So that was kind of a changing experience for me with that movie, or a heightening experience, because I enjoyed it, but especially the stunts and the action. I thought that was all great. The story, definitely, I can agree with you on some, like, needs some work, especially like your overall big picture purpose and stuff for doing it.
Yes.
And it fell into one trope that I hate too, which is just killing a very good villain. That if you're trying to build a universe, I don't understand why you got rid of him. You could have even blew his leg off. We can technology like to give him a robotic leg or something.
Or you could have done something a little bit more comic book accurate and just like messed up his face to where he has to wear the mask all the time.
Yeah.
Or, melt it to his face or something, something.
It's hard to justify paying Hugh McGregor salary when he can't show Hugh McGregor face.
Yeah, but same thing with what is his name from The Dark Knight? Playing Two-Face.
Oh yeah, but no. Well, he was
They melted his face.
Yeah, after he was in the movie for 80% of the movie in a real handsome face, and then he had
same thing for Ian McGregor.
No,
he was there for
a
good majority of the movie, and then boom.
But they didn't
melt
bring
his face
Two-Face
off.
back anymore, right? Is all I'm saying. Like it's hard to justify, and Deadpool
Oh, I
fun
still
at
think
this, right?
I was
With
gonna say,
Brad Pitt.
I think you could still like throw flashbacks in a second movie or something, or whatever movie that he's in, so that way you can still use
Yeah.
Ian McGregor's
Oh yeah, that's
gorgeous face, but then still have him in the mask whenever he's in the present. It's super easy.
You could pull the MCU and just straight up recast him like they did with Red Skull, and just have him in the mask and with no difference.
Oh God, no. But the problem that I had with Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, because in the middle of its theatrical run, they changed the title of the movie, which was dumb, which hurt them more than they care to say, was, for me, this is a Harley Quinn movie. And I know that a lot of people will say, yeah, the marketing showed that. Well, unfortunately, you were trying to market the Birds of Prey, and you didn't make this movie about the Birds of Prey. Like, it just wasn't. It was a Harley Quinn movie that featured the Birds of Prey. I think what you need to do is you need to revamp every single one of those characters. Harley Quinn is getting a revamp in Suicide Squad because, unfortunately, in the eyes of a lot of people, Suicide Squad didn't do anything. David Ayer's Suicide Squad didn't do anything for them. And Kathy Yan's Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn did not do anything for them as well. So you need to revamp every single one of those characters before you can attempt to make a Birds of Prey 2. So
see, that's where I have issue with some of the characters I thought were done
poorly.
solid in Suicide Squad. Couple. Like, I don't think you need to redo Amanda Waller. Like, for example, I think that was perfection. So, and even Margot Robbie's Harley, when she was actually Harley, what I wanted more from that was a bit more backstory of how it happened and her like going down a little bit more descending. So I think there's mistakes there, but maybe that's different in Ayer cut, like you said. And to go with that, she also said that she's very keen to see a Poison Ivy and Harley relationship, and like it'd be so fun. And honestly, Clay, all I gotta say is, I hope you've been paying attention, haven't had your head in the sand in terms of how popular the animated show based on your character is, and how that big relationship is one of the most important things in that show.
Oh yeah, but the one thing that a lot of people have pointed out also is the wording of how she said this in the interview. I have been pestering WB to do this for a while. Pestering sounds like you've been doing it a lot, meaning that WB hasn't been listening.
I mean, you've been
we will get to that. So in that time that you have been pestering WB, saying, hey, I want to include this lesbian relationship in live action. You're not afraid to do it in animation. Why are you so afraid to do it in live action? That's my question. Because if they're not afraid, and if it did so well for the animated series, you would think you would want to use that to make more money in your other films using inclusion of the LGBTQ community, right?
Yeah.
But apparently WB just doesn't want to. So it is what it is. It doesn't sound like anything surprising on WB's part. This is just who they are. And that is that.
Yeah.
But Travis just said something. He says, if we don't get a sequel in Gunn's Suicide Squad film, where do we see her next if she's done? If she is done, or is she done? One thing that Margot Robbie said, and she didn't say this specifically, but the way she kind of worded it is basically she is the next Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. She wants to play Harley Quinn for as long as possible. So I don't think she's going to give up. I think that she still has a good relationship with WB, regardless of the WB fighting on the inclusion of a lesbian relationship. I think she would still want to stay, but who knows? I always thought the smartest thing for her to do is, if Suicide Squad from James Gunn does well, or if it doesn't do well, she needs to pitch a live action Harley Quinn series that can go many different ways. What about it, Harley?
That's the title. That's what I wrote down. That's what she needs to do. You need to do, like you said, your own HBO Max show or her own movie, and just call it Harley or Harley Quinn. I better call it Harley.
I think you need to do so crazy thought here. Crazy thought. And I don't know how many people would agree with this. But if Margot is wanting to play Harley Quinn for that long, have her play every reiteration of Harley Quinn except for the animated one. Because Callie Coco has that down. She's perfect at it. But let's have her in her regular role in the DCEU, but as a series, 8 episodes, whatever, per season. Then have her do a Black Label DC movie. Recently, there was a DC Comics Black Label book titled Joker Harley Criminal Insanity, which was basically Harley Quinzel as a what is that? Like the criminal psychologist. What is that
CSI.
movie? No, Criminal Minds. What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I've psychoanalysis. Yeah, psychoanalysis or whatever they're called. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. But she was basically in that role, like catching criminals. And it eventually came out to her chasing after Joker because you find out that Joker killed Poison Ivy, or the person who would have been Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Because they were in a lesbian relationship. Have her do a bunch of those. Because even there's a story, another Black Label book by Stepan Sajic, which was the evolution to where Harley and Joker met, all the way to like the actual like becoming of Harley. Like, and we kind of got that in the DCEU, but you can get a little bit more dark in a Black Label movie, you know?
Yeah, so I just don't see that happening. Like, because of the success of what happened before.
I'm just throwing things out there.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things out there.
There. I love it. And that's
like, imagine
awesome.
Imagine the movie Joker, but replace Joker with Harley.
Yeah, but you're just not getting it with her. That was her movie. That was her driving movie. If you got success with that Birds of Prey, you would have gotten any and all of those things. I think you could get a series, but you're not getting multiple seasons, I don't think. Because she's still a star. We got to remember who this is. Like, she was in Wolf of Wall. She's been in a lot of big time movies.
Yes.
So while she's going to keep this character, she's not going to devote like 4 and like a Grant Gustin. Where Grant Gustin's complaining that he can't do any other roles, she's not going to do that.
We don't know yet, because here's another thing that will ultimately be the deciding factor. If Suicide Squad does not make that much money, because Travis is right, this film is not going to be played in a lot of countries, including China, which is a big
one
market.
Made $750 and didn't play in China.
Are you sure?
I am 749 million. I'm 100% sure because I am blown away by anyone.
Oh, because it was rated R also. It was rated R also.
No, it wasn't rated R. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Yep. I'm just blown away by anyone that says that movie wasn't a success. You can say it wasn't a critical success, but financially with what that movie made and how it was caught up with that trailer company, that was a super duper success for them. And that's what made them think,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It was. Don't get me wrong. It was a success in the range of like where they were when they started the film as far as budget and everything else. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that like Birds of Prey, like overall, it was cut at the knees. Its theatrical release was cut at the knees because of COVID. It did not make as much money as it possibly could have if COVID wasn't a thing. And that's with a lot of movies. But because of that, they're not going to see, we're gonna say it's okay because of COVID. No, they're gonna say, hey, we lost money. That's what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna get at, if Suicide Squad doesn't make a lot of money, the deciding factor for her to stay as Harley Quinn is how well she is perceived and how much money Pirates of the Caribbean makes with her at the lead.
Yeah,
That's what's that's gonna decide whether she stays as Harley Quinn. I think.
Well, she got to keep proving her star power. You're right there, Clay, 100%. Like she got to show that she can drive that kind of moviegoers at the theater. But in saying all that, we've got a little bit now, so we're going to take our first ad break of the evening. We're an ad-supported network. We don't get to pick the ads or the volume, so we're going to give you a quick 3 count to give you a chance to adjust the volume, and we'll be back shortly. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Clay. Think we got to get into it, buddy.
Yeah, I think we do. So this hit, like I said, it hit last night. By the time we were recording, it hit last night.
Also got to say, Snell's speaking facts here. Like, they're not going to put Harley in several countries if it's just a movie titled Harley, just because, like, this, not even a question. It's already limited there. I'm sure Birds of Prey went through the same thing.
Oh, okay,
yeah. That's what you're speaking on, that the success of Suicide Squad.
But this merger, AT&T merging Warner Media with Discovery. That's what this first was all about. This is the article that you sent me was actually from last night. These were just talks, and it was saying, speculation is that the merger will be announced Monday morning. And it was. Yep. And the Twitter freaking blew up. Holy crap. There is a lot of different speculations on how this is going to be, but being realistic, reading this article, reading the facts about this, all we know at the moment is, hey, they're merging these two companies and there's going to be new management. Those are the only 2 things we know. Everything else is up in the air. Now, I will say with that merger, being Discovery Plus and Warner Media, everything within AT&T's entertainment section is going within that merger. TBS, DC, like all of their cable stuff, basically. So my question to you is, I think the very first thing, which is a little bit annoying, and Chris kind of called me out. He's like, hey, you will download it. Do you think everything moves to HBO Max, or is there going to be a completely new app?
I don't know. I know that I saw people complaining, including yourself, about some of the things with this. And I understand your trepidations where Discovery brings nothing to the table that you care about. Like, really, we were talking about it. Like, there isn't much, because Discovery and history and that are jokes of the channels that they used to be. They're not about like science or history. They're about palm stars and explosions and stuff, instead of the things that I remember when they first originated in channels. But this is still a big company, and I think that this only makes I don't even know if it's going to be HBO Max, so I'm just going to say it. Let's just say it all goes to HBO Max. This is only going to make it bigger, or vice versa. If all HBO Max content goes to Discovery, because Discovery is available in 200 countries right now.
Yes. I said 25, but that was an out-of-date article. Yeah. It's 220 plus countries that Discovery Plus is currently in. This is very good for HBO Max, and I made the joke because I was even talking about it with my other co-hosts of my other shows, because this is big news. I'm not going to lie. But they're like, hey, this is at least, good for HBO Max. I'm like, yeah, but it's none of the content that I want. And they're like, well, Clay, the world doesn't revolve around you, so you just need to suck it up. And I'm like, well, the problem is I'm not turning on my TV saying, I wonder what Travis is watching. I'm not turning the TV on saying, I wonder what Chris is watching. No, I'm turning on the TV to say, hey, what do I want to watch?
I understand that, and that is perfectly reasonable. But I'll say for growing the app and growing the amount of subscribers, this is a great way to go.
Yes.
And in turn, you may get more. What you love may get more funding out of this, so you may get more of the things that you love. But you also have these other things that you don't care about.
I doubt it because again, we don't know the specifics about everything else. Now there is speculation still, because there was I saw another post. A lot of journalists were on top of this.
Yeah.
A lot of them saying different little snippets. So this gentleman, this new CEO, David, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I do apologize. It's like I can't even freaking find it now. Zaslav. Zaslav. I'm just going to say
Zaslav.
Yeah,
right.
So David Zaslav is going to be the new CEO. I said, this is just another name that Warner Media can point to when something is unsuccessful. This is something that Warner Brothers can be like, oh, well, this is what happened. David is an idiot. Like, I'm sorry, but blame him. It's his fault.
But Warner Brothers is on its third. Like, Warner Brothers been sold and then resold. Like, they're the people that are like, this is the way we're supposed to do it. This is one of the things that I'm excited about, Clay, that I want to talk to you, because you said that before, but fool me once, shame on you. What about if this guy comes in, appoints one cat to make decisions right away about everything? He sweeps house. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we got that Toby Emmerich article 2 weeks ago. I think he knew about this. I think he had word, and I think
all the executives are either trying to get out quick or they're selling off shares so that way they can make more money on the way out. Like, that's just how things go. Cats don't make movie signs. So here's, because I know where you're getting at. I know, and because even Snell was saying the exact same thing in our chat. Is like, hey, David being in charge may be the golden ticket of what you said last time when we were talking about, the whole debacle on Black Superman. Does this mean everybody's cleaned out? And I said, no, everybody's not cleaned out. Everybody is still where they're going to be. Travis is asking a question that we're going to get to later in the sense of, like, Emmerich right now is his contract doesn't end until next year.
Oh, he's done. He looks like Clay. He looks like a bag of rotting fruit right now.
Do you know who also looks like a bag of rotting fruit?
Who?
The entire studio of WB, and they're still in existence.
They're not going to destroy the studio. Like, that's what makes the pictures. The people running it is the problem, not the essential studio. It's just who's running it, and he's a lame duck.
I'm just saying. You were saying, hey, who looks like a sack of rotten fruit?
Yeah,
I'm just stating facts.
No, because it's just because he's a lame duck. See, it's harder to explain this. In sports, there's a general manager that runs the team, and he has a contract. So if you don't renew his contract and he has 18 months left, the people calling him to make trades and calling about your team, they don't even really care about his opinion as much, because they know if he wasn't signed to that contract extension, he's done out of there. His opinion doesn't mean anything. And that's essentially what Toby Emmerich is right now. He's just like a dead man walking on a green mile. His contract running up. He tried to get it extended. It's not. It's in the window of when this merger is happening. It's when his contract is over.
I also need Sarnoff. I need Hamada. I need Johns.
This is what I'm trying to say to you now. Because I'm trying to say to you. If he just says this, if he just says, okay, David, you're my guy. You're coming in here now. What do you recommend? And David goes, okay, well, you need to fire all these executives. There's too many executives there's too much of a committee for making decisions. You need to pull the biggest IP you have, DC, and copy Marvel's layout of DC Studios. That's what you need to do. This needs to be independent. And then it just goes out.
You guys are you're walking the same mile that everybody on Twitter is right now.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Then why are we having this conversation? Like,
because we don't. This is pure speculation. This entire thing, because we don't know how this affects DC at all. Only thing we know for sure is that they're not going to run in and shut down any of the movies that are in production
that
right
are in
now.
current. Yes,
So
yeah,
that's the only thing we
they're not
know.
going to destroy
And
anything
same thing
that's
with
current
TV shows.
production.
Like we won't show listeners, but there was something that we were toying with for a story. Would have been complete spoilers, and now I don't know how anyone don't think this is going to happen in season 3 of Titans, but it would have been a complete spoiler if we show the pictures that we saw from set. So I don't think Titans can be shut down in season 3, Doom Patrol. So there's some stuff that we know we're getting, but as far as this whole multiverse and the things that Sarnath was talking about, I don't know if any of that's going to happen, because I got to know what's going to happen with her. So we're just purely speculating. So I'm just wondering how they can earn your trust back. Tell me how they can earn your trust back, that you'll be like, okay, I'm good going forward.
I need to wake up and see that every piece of the cancer is out of the body. That's what I need. Because, again, Emmerich's leaving, but if you have a rotten apple and you just kind of cut away at that rotten piece, like, you don't see the core. You don't know what that is like, you know?
Yeah.
And then at that point, you're just gambling. You're like, I hope I don't get sick on this. Are we still getting the Plastic Man movie? Hell no. No.
I think Ralph Digby even though he's the elongated man, I can't threw wrench in the whole having this movie for it.
Well, no, because Plastic Man was rumored to be Plastic Woman. They said they wanted a woman lead in that movie. So that doesn't even matter.
I forget about some of these nonsense stories.
There's a whole, and that's the problem with WB. They're like, people are mad at us. Booster Gold, Plastic Man, Blue Beetle, another DC hero that everybody likes, another DC hero that nobody likes. What do? We're running out of characters.
Yeah. So
let's make them black.
This current batch of people. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If they make a DC Studios and have somebody that either have a partnership with two people, one understands comics, one not, and with Jeff Johns, can he just be demoted back to comics, or do you want him thrown out on the street, never seen again? Or I'm just curious,
if you wanted to hear my actual thoughts, I would have to be 100% certain that the FBI is not watching this right now. So that is my actual thoughts.
Well, I think I can gather what you.
I have since talked about this with other people, and if Johns was moved to comics, just like in movies, I can decide not to buy that comic.
Yeah,
easy enough. Now, if there is an event that I'm interested in, well, that sucks for me because I'm not going to support him. Easy as that. Like, I've already said, I'm not going to support a racist, so I'm just not going to do it.
Lebanese American Jeff Johns. Sorry, got to point that out. That needs to be stated. Apparently,
Lebanese American racist. That's what needs to be stated.
I'm just putting out the part that they asked to be clarified.
But also, like, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, DC Studios," and then WB or David hears, "Oh wait, this Jeff Johns dude works for DC. Okay, we're gonna put him as the head of DC Studios."
I don't see that happening with all the smoke. Like, there's no maybe the current regime. Yes.
Do you honestly think that David Zaslav or whatever his name is cares about the smoke?
Okay. I'm trying to think about the best way to explain this because, okay. This right here is my team that I love, the team that I've cheered for since I can remember. It was passed down from my dad. They have not won the championship in my entire life. My dad has only seen one championship on a black and white TV when he was 6. So I can't, the mistakes that were made 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they're always thrown on the team that's here today, the new team. We have a new wave of young players. Exciting. We're going into the playoffs, but all I hear is 67, 67, 67. This is what I'm saying to you. If they completely, you got to give him a chance. We got to see what he does, because he could clean house. It's going to cost a pretty penny because you got to buy out people with contracts. We see what Collar, like, he may make 15 million just to peace out, see you later. So,
but again, as of right now, it's all speculation, and as my speculation is, nothing is changing.
You got to see it.
The only thing that is changing is a new name to blame. That's the only thing that's changing, other than the fact that there might be, and again, might means speculation, there might be a new app, which, by the way, possibly would no longer be free to anybody who has AT&T products as far as phone plans, internet, whatever. So that's another thing that's going to lose a lot of people. Now,
we got to talk about the elephant in the room too, the restore the Snyderverse part of this, because personally, Clay, I think that there wasn't, from everything that we've heard, there was no chance, especially what that piece that was put out a couple days later, and then the trailer, the Justice League 4K trailer, I'll put out within a couple weeks of Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out, made me think there was no chance we were getting this. There was no chance from the powers to be. Now, if the only chance you get is if you get that cleaning house, you never had that opportunity before. That wasn't going to happen when the status quo, let's say last week, that wasn't going to happen of the cleaning house. Now there is actually a possibility of it happening. I don't know if it will. I doubt it. I really doubt it, because things like that just don't work out. But there is a possibility, because Hamada. We'll answer listener question from Mr. Snell, because it ties directly into this whole thing, which is, what do you think the fates in 2 years? What do you think that Hamada and Emmerich both will be working at WB? Only one or the other, or neither?
As of right now, because genuinely, I don't think anything's changing. I see them both still being working at WB. Because, again, a lot of journalists were on top of this story. Somebody was saying that David is going to be in charge for WB movies. They didn't say DC, they said movies. So it sounds like Hamada may not be needed at all in that section. But we all know what kind of relationship he has with a lot of people at WB, from where he was to jump up how far he was able to go with just saying, hey, I'm friends with James Wan, the guy who made you $1 billion with Aquaman.
Question: if you're climbing up a shitty corporate ladder, are you really climbing up a great ladder anyway?
Exactly. But one thing is, you were talking about this whole thing with, there's no there was no idea of a possibility with Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
What people are all up in arms about now, David is our savior. He's going to restore the Snyderverse. Blah, 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 blah. If you go to, I think it was Brent who shared this today. He said it was on the
Shark Week. Shark Week.
No. So not that. Both you and Brent shared it. It was Discovery's post today.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the nice little pictures that showed the merger, you see Warner Brothers, you see DC, you see Discovery, you see HBO Max, TBS, Sesame Street, Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes, and right below Looney Tunes, you see the banner for Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is what has people screaming at the top of their lungs, get your hashtags ready, get your hashtags ready, we're going to get it, we're going to get the restore the Snyderverse. Guys, I love your enthusiasm. I love it. I want it just as bad as you guys. But leave the man alone. Like we were saying earlier, Zack, I would not want, if we are getting Zack Snyder's Justice League, I am still hesitant to see what he's going to make, because he will still have so many eyes on him saying, hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't do that. Hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't do that. Hey, why are you making this movie? Hey, see, and yes. Yes.
Clay, he's not getting that movie if those people are there. Those people have to be removed for him to get that movie.
Exactly.
So, no,
but
if he's making the movie, but if he's making the movie, that already has to have happened. So that those people that are being like, don't do this, don't do that, they will not be there. That is the whole point of this. He will not get that movie approved if those people are there. And Sarnoff already came out and put their line in the sand up. We're not doing this. This is over. So the only chance this happens is if house is clean and there's a new set of eyes looking at this. And while I don't think that you should bombard Shark Week posts with Restore the Snyderverse, I think that maybe you should organize another campaign of a day where you trend it and just let the people at Discover know that there's a fan base. I don't think that you should consistently write on Discover Twitter pages posts Restore the Snyderverse. I don't think that is right. I don't think it's harassment because it's not.
What is your definition of harassment?
Not for personal. You can't prove that, or you're assuming the company is a public, like you're treating the company as a person then, and then you're getting into a whole other legal ramifications there after doing a couple of business law courses and nowhere near an expert or anything. Good God, couldn't be further from it. But there is a separation there. Now, I'm saying if you're writing Jason Kilar and saying like all that stuff, yes, that's harassment. You're harassing an individual. I don't think harassing Discovery's Twitter, I don't think that's harassment. I think that's more annoyance.
So you cannot harass a company.
No,
that's
I don't
what you're
think.
Saying.
No, I think you can. I don't think you can harass their Twitter thing that is not an actual person. That's not a person, Clay. No,
but that's a company.
That's not harassing them. What is that harassing? That's not stopping them from selling anything. That's not negatively impacting your business because, like we all know, Twitter is just a 0.1% of people and their business and all that. So, like I said, I think people are calling out harassment a bit too much. Like for people who actually, personal people who actually goes through harassment. I think that's a little bit of a selling the term lightly.
How many people have you blocked recently that are Snyder fans?
I have over 1,000 people blocked.
Okay, so why is that?
Because they're annoying to me. Annoying. They're not harassing. I just annoying. And now if you're F-bombs and that, yes, I think vulgarity and all that adds to it. I think that.
So it's only vulgarity that
No, I think it adds to it. No, I never said that, Clay. You're trying to jump to assumptions. I'm just saying when you're talking about Discovery's Twitter page, it's not an actual person. Even if you said you suck, you're not saying that to anybody. You're not saying you're
so individuals that go to college to be social media business people. I don't know the exact name. My wife is going to school for business and she was social media marketing. So people who go to school for social media marketing aren't real people.
No, I would say probably I would hope that step one in social media marketing is if you're handling a company's Twitter page, do not take anything that anyone says personally, because it's not personally said about you, because it's not. It's about the company, and you can't say it's harassment because it's not a living. You're not harassing that person. I understand it's annoyance, and yes, you can go to extremes and take it over the line. But if you're tweeting to Discovery, release this or restore the Snyderverse, I mean, if that's harassment, that got like we got to dial it back in because there's a lot more like. I think there should be a different term used for it because that's not harassment. That is not. You're just. Do I look like a harassing person? So if I wrote one time, just let them know that this is what I love, and I said, "Hey, people at Discovery, I don't know if you can get this or if this even matters, but I would love if you restored the Snyderverse. Please and thank you." Am I harassing them then?
If they were to get one email, no.
No. If
there is a community that says, "Hey, we're going to harass them until they get what we want," that is harassment.
I'm not.
But I'm saying there's a difference. If there is a huge community like there is doing what they're doing, that is harassment. But if somehow, some way, which is almost mentally impossible for them to actually say, "Hey, instead of doing this, let's put one person in charge to write a letter." No, I'm saying this is unrealistic. But I'm saying if it was possible that one person was to send a nice little email saying, "Hey, we as a community have appointed this person to send this email with the best wishes in the world, and we'll leave it alone at that," that is not harassment. No, you are correct. That is not harassment. But a whole community of thousands of people.
I think if you're getting to Twitter people saying stuff like Devin Nunes, you're you're like the Congressman Devin Nunes. There was a Devin Nunes cow that talked about things that he did, made fun of him, talked down posts about him. He tried to bring up that person who ran that Twitter account to court for it. And you know what? Judge laughed it out because he was saying he was getting harassed. And that was a personal account. So, I mean, if you're there, oh, poor Discovery, I think it's nonsense. Like Katie said, the best thing, I think, for it, it's kind of pathetic, yes, to bombard every post. That's pathetic. But
Yeah.
I think if you're wasting your time saying these people, like harassment, I think you're diminishing what, like, when an actual person goes through harassment. I think you're diminishing that just a little
Oh,
bit.
no, not at all.
In my opinion, if you're focusing, because you're not harassing, that company is not the same as if, let's say Terry, somebody puts out, I didn't like, because this has happened, because Snoddercut fans, a lot of Snoddercut fans are absolutely batshit crazy. Pretty sure I got most Snoddercut fans more than anybody else blocked on my Twitter. She will put out, I didn't enjoy Snoddercut. It just wasn't my speed. I think it was too long.
Because
when
they
she
don't
gets 50 or 60 messages of people saying, like, if you suck, blah, 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 they're harassing people. That's harassment. But you get that one person saying, comes in and says, well, actually, I disagree. I think that this and this and this, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. That person isn't harassing, but that's getting tied in with everyone because they're bombarded with messages. So, like I said, I think when you're doing with company, there's a whole different set of rules. So I think that if it was harassment, every company will be crying it out after every post for stuff. Like WB would have called out a long time ago harassment if they could, which they can't because it's not actually harassment.
There's a difference here. So there's not a difference, but I'll say this. The same way I said it last time when we were talking about Black Superman, WB doesn't care about the harassment because they said, hey, we have more money than you. Hey, we have control. Discovery's going to do the same thing. But if there is somebody who is getting physically abused and they're not saying anything, is that abuse? They're not going to say anything about it. That's fine, right?
No, if you're reading Discovery's page and like, Discovery, you sucks. I'm not getting abused when I'm reading that. Good Lord. Like, that's not targeted at me, Clay. That has nothing to do with me. If I'm managing their social media account and I'm reading all these direct messages saying, give me Snodderverse, you guys suck. Yeah. I don't make any of those decisions. I have no power to do anything. I'm just reading off this. But they're not targeting me. Like, if I can't see how someone would think that's harassment to them or to the company. Like, company's a faceless thing, so it's a whole different ballgame with that. But if you're, like I said, if you're attacking an individual like Jason Clare or this Salazar guy, if he has, because I love Snell being like, but I hope you don't have Twitter, because that it should never be like that. That's not the guy who owned the Mets. He got drove off Twitter because he made a comment about something, and he got drove off Twitter because people attacked him. I think that's harassment. So I have a different definition. Maybe I just, but it is. I think it's a little hard to.
The definition of harass: make repeated small scale attacks on an enemy. That is the definition of harass.
That's not go to the legal definition then, please, because that's just your definition in the dictionary. We're talking about legality of if it's harassment.
The same thing.
No, harassment is something you're actually trying to prove to somebody. Like, you're harassing that person. You have a pattern of harassment. Like, you can get restraining orders and other things from harassment.
That is the exact same definition.
Well, that has not. You show me a case where that has happened from Twitter, and I'll be like, okay, I'm wrong. That's not the same thing. Because if it has, yes, but it has. I have not.
Again,
yet seen
we said this in our group chat though. Most harassment charges, people see harassment as a joke. Show me one
against a company. Show me one against a company from Twitter messages.
People see harassment as a joke until somebody gets hurt, and they're like, "Oh shit! If only we could have known." Because people are idiots. Words don't hurt. Words don't hurt. Hey, if you commit suicide because of something somebody said, that's fine. But oh man, that sucks. Oh man, if only we knew. If only we could have stopped something. If like,
I don't understand the things you're equating them to. You're going to extremes for equating it, and that's not. I'm just talking about a Twitter account that is not. There's a faceless logo of a channel. Of a TV channel. That's what that was. It was Discovery's TV channel's Twitter app.
And to the Snyder fans, that is an enemy. So they are repeating.
That's not.
They're repeating small scale. To
They're
them,
not.
it is.
No.
To them, it is.
No, they're not. That's the exact opposite of what they're making it out to be. They're making it to be like, listen to me, please. This is what I want. They're not saying like you're our enemy, Rod, or like, please give us what we want, sir. Can I have some more,
And if
sir?
the Snyder Cut is not announced within a month, they're going to go harder and
Yeah,
harder
but that's
and
not
harder.
harassing what they're doing right now. You just
Yes,
you
it
just
is.
said no. You just said they were demanding something against the enemy, and you said they were targeting the enemy, harassing the
Yes.
enemy. They're
Yes.
not. They're begging for something. They're not being evil or malicious. There's no malicious intent behind this harassment, and that's another
Okay,
thing that I think goes hand in hand with that.
When the very first one that I showed you guys in the chat said, the very first one said, hey, I'm sorry to do this, but restore the Snyderverse, because they already know, hey, this is going to be annoying. Hey, I know this
Annoying.
is harassment.
There you go.
I know this is
perfect thing. Annoying. He even apologized. I'm sorry. I don't see it, Clay. We're gonna have to put a pin in this because we're completely separate on this ideal. Maybe I'll change. I need to see an example of a company like this actually, because I'm just stuck in the legality of it. I personally, I understand. I think it's the lowest of the low to bombard posts. I think it's pathetic, but I don't think it's harassment. That's where my big issue is. I don't think it's harassment. That's all. But I don't think that they're sane individuals. And like I said before, most of the people I have blocked, percentages, at least 60% of my 1,000 people blocked are Snyder Cut fans, because there's a lot of them that are crazy out there. A lot of them that are crazy, that say crazy things, that do harass people.
Yes.
But if for every one of them, you got a Scott. So if Scott writes down a post and says, Discover, please restore the Snyderverse, I'm a big fan. And then there's 70 other messages that comes in, restore the Snyderverse, restore the Snyderverse. Hey, you suck, restore the Snyderverse, restore the Snyderverse. Is Scott harassing people? Because
are they bombarding or harassing on a individual post that is unneeded?
I don't know. Let's say Scott, first thing he sees, he posts on it. It's Shark Week there. If Scott was the first post saying
it's posting on a Shark Week post.
Yeah. I'm just curious. I'm wondering would you rather schedule a fan event and let people know?
So there's a difference. If I go to Twitter right now, I'm using a browser, so I'm not on my phone, or even on your phone. The very top says what's happening, and you tweet something.
Yeah.
I tweet the hashtag, restore the Snyderverse. I'm throwing it into the void. I'm not projecting it out to anybody. But if I deliberately go to Discovery, find a post, and say, hey, Shark Week reminds me of restore the Snyderverse. Unrelated, unneeded.
Okay. I'm just trying to get your handle on what you can do as a consumer to let the people that own the IP know what you want. That's all. I'm just trying to get a handle on what's right. So more of a fan community, pick a day like June 11th and everyone tweet restore the Snyderverse and get 1.5 million.
Because we know, because we've seen it before, that hashtags are accounted for and they can trend. And that doesn't mean that it has to be on somebody else's post. The hashtag can be anywhere, including just a regular tweet.
But I would fairly gamble that every one of those trending events had people commenting on all of the posts from WB as well. Like, I don't think that definitely made it trend as well.
Oh yeah, but again, you called out Scott, and Scott, if you're listening to this, I'm terribly sorry that we're picking on you, but I know Scott wouldn't do that.
No, I just, my barometer for things is what would Scott and Tim do when it comes to DC. I ask myself, like, because they want Snyder Cut more than anyone, but I've never seen them be anything but cordial about everything. And that's how I would never comment on that. That's just not my thing. But I still don't think it's harassment. I think that it's annoyance. It's pathetic. It's a few other things rolled into one. Like, you might just start collecting stamps or cards, Pokemon cards. They're huge now. Get a hobby if you're doing that. Like, I don't understand it, but I still I just think we're on a separate thing there. But this was still a good discussion, because I think that's what they need to do. They need to show in a respectful way that there's a demand for it at the very least, because like you could even do a Nightmare Chronicles, some sort of cheap thing like that, and just tell a 1 episode story for each person. I don't know, but there's so many options, but I think that there's better chance. Well, there's a percentage, there's a 0.5%, whereas last week I thought there was a 0% chance. I was solid on what we had, but with there's the only chance to that 0.5% is if somebody comes in and cleans house, like burns the house to the ground and builds a new house. Like
Yes.
Clay's right. You can't just take out 2 pieces of bad furniture or 2 bad walls and have 2 other bad walls and foundation of rotting crap. You need to get rid of everything. You need to burn it to the ground and start anew.
Yes.
And that's the best thing that was said. But we'll take our last break of the evening, talk about a little gaming situation and listener questions and our DC Comics Corner. So we'll be back shortly in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Oh, hey, Clay, can you tell me what on earth is going on with WB Games, please?
So in WB Games, of course, everybody wants a clickbait title. I shared this Screen Rant article with everybody in the chat. It says, Mortal Kombat Batman Arkham publisher WB Games is reporting splitting as a part of the AT&T and Discovery merger. Basically, what it is saying is that there is still a large lump sum that is staying as its own entity, basically, staying on location, really. And then another half is going with the merger. There were some jokes saying, oh, so you mean that WB Games is going to be making WB Games while the other half is going to be taking all the mobile stuff, all of the small, very, very small projects along with them. I just feel bad for this company. If anybody who has ever been a fan of WB Games and has followed them in the last 5 years, they have been dragged through the mud. It feels like every year since like 2014, really, their jobs have been on the line. It always seems like, hey, we're not going to make enough money for this quota. We may, be dispersed. We may, just be completely destroyed as a company. And a lot of people are just like, hey, we love these games. Why is it such a problem for WB to keep this company? And I mean, the biggest thing I think was just a year ago, 2 years ago, right before Arkham Knights and Suicide Squad was announced, they were in danger of dispersing again. Yep. And it's just like, Jesus, what's going to happen to this company? Thankfully, they're still creating those games. Sadly, Arkham is not going to be coming out for another year, and then Suicide Squad is not coming out until 2023. When it comes to most video games, I love superhero content, just like I do with comics and movies and everything else. So I'm always on the up and up with those things. I know WB Games makes more than that. I think another big announcement was the Harry Potter open world game that was announced, 2019, I believe. Yeah. The very end of 2019. But who knows, man? I am very interested in following this. If there's any development, because a lot of these games recently, just because of how big they are wanting to be with the new PS5 and basically the next gen consoles, everybody is kind of worried that they're going to be the next Cyberpunk, which was a disaster of a launch, So I'm just worried. I'm just worried that I'm not going to get the games that I want. That's ultimately what it is.
Yeah, I'm still confident that we'll get those 2 games announced at Fandom. That's something that I really hope. But like you said, the Cyberpunk thing is always a worry, especially when you got a company that's in flux and you don't know what you're going to do with them. I don't know. I really, like you said, I enjoyed comic book games. What Marvel's doing with the Spider-Man games, not as much with the Avengers game. I'm so glad I refunded my purchase for that and didn't look back after.
There's some things that have been updated with that thing, and sometimes it can be fun. It's just the grinding, man. Nowadays with the games, grinding is like the big thing, and it just sucks. But it says here, there's a quote. It says WB Games is getting broken up somehow due to AT&T and Warner Media's Discovery sale merger. Some of the gaming arm will stay with AT&T, and some will go with the new company. Axios rep says no further info. And WB Games lists 11 studios, games of all kinds of IPs and devices. So who knows?
Hopefully they get backed by somebody that will actually push some games. Fingers crossed there.
Yeah.
So Clay, we got some fan questions. You put out the call not very long ago, and we've got a few in that amount of time. I'm rather impressed. And a little bit insulted, because it seems like whenever I put out the call for questions, it's just me and tumbleweeds.
So let's go ahead, and we did kind of answer the question, but let's go ahead and ask it again, and we'll have a better discussion about it. Travis asked, jump in a time machine in 2 years. Is Toby Emmerich still with WB and same as Hamada? I want them to be gone.
I do. Fairly confident Toby's going to be gone, because I think that that article should have been the first clue that something's up, because he wouldn't have been sniffing around looking for another job, because he seems like be like a power hungry guy. So if it doesn't seem like
I can't remember. I know that it was another like polarizing article, but there was an article that also dropped with that news. That was like right before or something that people were complaining about. And then they're like, oh, but by the way, Toby Emmerich may be leaving, basically.
He put out, they didn't know what the hit job was. They didn't know what the article was. They thought it was a hit job. So they put out something earlier than that. I can't remember what exactly it was now. It was just something. And then this came out. So I don't see Toby being there. The wild card for me is Hamada. And I think Hamada's fate is now tied directly into Sarnas. So, especially with that article that she put out, where she basically gave him resounding endorsement and was like, here's my black friend. We have a black friend. He knows everything about everything, kind of deal. Like, that same kind of, here's my black friend. There's no way I can do anything.
But also, again, what I was saying earlier with David, there's speculation that he's going to be in charge of WB movies. We don't know if that includes DC.
Yeah, that's
and we know that Hamada is in charge of DC films.
Yeah.
So
technically, every DC film is a WB movie, but like Clay
yes,
said,
and that's where the water is murky.
They made this subsection for DC, and now it seems like it's causing a constant power struggle. So yeah, I could see it going either one of two ways. He wiping that division clean and bringing it into the fold that he has, or letting them be where they are. And fingers crossed, it's the wiping it off the map, snapping it.
Yes. And another question that Snell had is, you like content, right? And yes, I love content. Give me more content, but give me more content that I want. Don't give me more content that I don't want. Because again, same thing with what I said earlier. If I'm going to turn on the TV, I'm not turning it on saying, "Oh, I wonder what Brendan's watching."
Do you want some of these amazing things, Clay? The shows you're looking forward to now that Discovery has taken over. I'm going to shout out Pod 333, my fellow Canadian. This was a funny list. I had to read it out. Batman Home Renovation Show.
No,
fixing up the Justice League disasters like that they cause. Animal Man narrating.
These jokes were going
Planet.
All over the place, and some of them were funny. Some of them were just trying to be original. When I saw them like 3 hours earlier, and people are trying to just get more likes. Here, I made one last night that even Chris was like, "What are you talking about?" I said that there should be a Animal Planet Vixen show.
Oh,
whatever.
Constantine Paranormal Activity show was my favorite that he had there.
And because we all know Discovery has changed a lot recently. And if you go to that Discovery page that shows all of what they have lined up, they own HGTV, they own TLC, they own shoot, what was the other ones that freaking Animal Planet was the other one. You know, they have a large amount of unscripted documentary-esque shows,
Reality
reality TV.
Air
And no,
quotes.
so my wife watches a show called 90 Day Fiance. Uh, I don't like it. Like, it's just boring to me. Now, I will admit, if there is nothing else for me to do, I will sit with her, and I find myself like kind of listening to it and saying, "Oh, well, that's dumb or that's stupid. Why are they doing this? What's going to happen here?" And yeah, I can get into a conversation with her about it, but I'm not going to willingly say, "Hey, I'm going to open this app and watch 9 hours of 90 Day Fiance," because I don't want to lose 90 hours or 9 hours of brain cells, because that's what reality TV is. I'm sorry. It's just what it is.
But like I said, that is you. But if you got a big streaming app that has that content for your wife or your friend, and also has the DC content for you, I
Yeah.
think that app has a better chance of surviving.
And I'm just going to ask for that app to have profiles, because I don't want to continue watching 90 Day Fiance. No, because that shouldn't be on my profile. That should be on my wife's profile. That's just the way it's going to be.
That's what I don't understand, Clay, with some of these streaming services when they come out. Like, how do you not look at Netflix and have essentially like all the like things they have with profiles and subsections and categories? And how do you not do that? Like, how do you not see the best competitor there and be like, okay, we got to at least have what they have? Like, we
imitation is the best form of flattery, you know? And you're right. You're absolutely right. The way that Netflix has paved the way for all of these other streaming services, like, I will admit, the best one since Netflix for me personally is Disney Plus.
Yeah, same.
Like, I've had Netflix and Hulu for years. I have not once watched a Hulu original ever. Do you know why? Because Hulu originals, their tab for it is somewhere freaking lost in whatever kind of freaking page that they have on their browser or app. Like, I don't watch it for that. I have to search for everything I want to watch on Hulu, because their freaking app is horrendous. I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
Question for you from Tony, Walt Gator 93. If you could place another character on Earth Prime from DCCW to Earth 2 and be shown in Stargirl Season 2, who would it be? Mine's going to be the Flash, because I would love to get him clear of the Flash.
Well, we're already going to be getting Jay Garrick in Season 2. I'm pretty sure.
I would love to see Flash.
But I would honestly say let's do Wally. I would do Wally.
Oh, nice. Oh, you made my selection suck.
I would say Wally, because it's a little closer in age, not necessarily like right on, but it's close enough. So that's what I would say. Joe's question is, when you lay your head down at night and close your eyes to drift off into sleep, what character do you dream of?
Batman.
Actually, Joe, I love my Ranger Alliance co-host, but apparently he's had a long day at work and he can be a little loopy at times. Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and say Zatanna. Don't tell my wife. I love you.
I'm gonna say you, Joe.
You. But we have two more questions from Charlie, DC Cavalier. Absolutely loving the Batman the Animated Series watch through on Superhero Discussions. So here's a related question: If you had to start, bench, and cut these following villains, who would you go with? The Joker, Victor Freeze, and Ra's al Ghul. So You go first, Travis.
I'm going to start Victor Freeze. I'm going to bench Ra's al Ghul, and I'm going to cut the Joker because I've seen about 1,800 stories with the Joker. So yeah,
I am right there. Well, actually, no. So I'm going to start. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, you're actually.
I struggled
right
between the start and bench. I really did a little bit.
Well, no, because here's the problem. Ra's al Ghul is such a small presence in that show that even like benching and cutting are basically the same thing. But if I were to cut Ra's al Ghul, it would hardly change the show anyway. So
yeah,
whatever.
that's true.
So
That's actually a really good point.
So you have to cut the Joker to make anything worthwhile. So I would cut the Joker for sure. I would bench Ra's al Ghul, and I would start Victor Freeze. But he had
one of the better.
Yeah, he had a second question. I don't know if you're currently reading any of the new DC comics. I do have another show. Well, 2 other shows. Technically 3 other shows that talk about DC comics in general. One of them being Comic Book Legion podcast, the other being the Batman News Weekly podcast, which we talk about only Batman stuff. And then, of course, the Weird Science DC Comics podcast, where I talk the digital first books. So his question is, have you been reading any of the new Infinite Frontier stuff, and how have you been enjoying it? So far, I'm loving Suicide Squad, the Joker, and Batman Urban Legends. They are the best. GL is not bad, but lots of exciting stuff happening. I will say this, DC Cavalier. I am not a huge fan of the Joker book right now, and the only reason that is because DC thinks that the only thing that can sell is Batman. And this Joker book is titled Joker, but the main character is Gordon. We only see Joker maybe for a page, maybe a panel sometimes. So the only reason why that book is selling at all is because the word Joker is on the title and he is on the cover. So I love March's art on it for sure, but I just don't like that book because of that reason. If you're going to write a Gordon story, sell it as a Gordon story. Don't tell me, hey, this is a Joker book and only read about Gordon.
Yeah,
because it's a waste. It's a waste of time and it's a waste of money for me. Yeah,
that's Justice League all over again.
Exactly.
Maybe.
So, Batman Urban Legends, I do like that book. As of right now, the only one I'm reading from that book, though, because it's a multiple story book, is Chip Zdarsky's Red Hood story. Chip Zdarsky has recently been doing a whole bunch of Marvel stuff in the last few years. So he's dipping his toe back into DC. I'm enjoying it. I really like this whole idea of kind of going into Jason's past while also putting him at a crossroads. He not accidentally kills an individual in this book, and it affects a child. And so in there,
I saw that panel today, actually.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I do like it. Now, this latest issue was a little bit of a downer for me because not a lot happened as far as story, but I am enjoying it. And as far as direct Infinite Frontier stuff, I am reading the Infinite Frontier Secret Files for Weird Science DC Digital Spotlight. So go check that show out. It's on the regular Weird Science DC podcast. Those have been fun. They're just really small 14-page stories about random individuals. It's going to be a whole team. I believe it's Calvin Ellis was the first book. Then it was Roy Harper for the second book. This third book was the original Green Lantern's children. I keep forgetting their names, but I'm going to be making sure that I remember them for when I actually record later this week for that. But so far, they've been fun. I've been enjoying this freshly new Infinite Frontier because I have been staying away from the solicits, so I don't know what's coming. Usually, I would read every month's solicits and kind of know how DC is moving along. This year, I haven't really been doing that, and it's keeping everything fresh for me. The only thing I am not enjoying and not even touching with the 10-foot pole is Bendis's Justice League because it is horrible. So,
I love when you review Bendis's book.
I will say this. At a point when he was writing Superman, I told my audience at Comic Book Legion that Bendis was basically the embodiment of cancer over at DC. And so he just needs to get away. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's harsh. I would never say that to his face because I'm not that mean, but he just is. I'm sorry.
Let's just hope he doesn't listen to this. That's all.
Sorry,
Don't know
Bendis.
why, but yeah. Yeah, so we'll take one final break before we get to the DC Comics Corner, I guess. Listeners, like I said before, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume, so I'll give you a quick 3 count, and we'll be right back. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Clay. Let's knock out the Comics Corner and end this night.
For sure.
So moving along well, I think.
Yeah. We do leave off exactly where we start exactly where we left off. In this whole just chaos at the Wayne Manor, right after this auction, trying to get these books, with Roz and Wonder Woman, Nazis, and young Bruce Wayne and young Talia. It's a great story. Again, I think the only way for me personally, if I was new to this, I don't think I would really enjoy it much if I didn't have these voices in my head for these characters. You very much need to have the nostalgia of Batman 66 to understand the language and to understand why it's a little silly at times, but I really do enjoy this, and it looks like by the end of us reviewing this, it looks like we are going to be in the present with an older Batman teaming up with Wonder Woman. So I am looking forward to that for sure. But like I said, we start off with Ra's al Ghul threatening Bruce Wayne. He gets the books, or the book, because one of them actually got in the hands of Ra's al Ghul. And Ra's al Ghul, we see, because at the time he is trying to get this book, but he wasn't really seeming like a big threat until we saw him threaten Bruce Wayne. So in here we see that he's ordering his men to attack a superhero. So you're like, okay, this cannot be a good person, legitimately.
No, I think Talia realizes that as well. Like,
yeah,
she's just like, what about Wonder Woman and all that? So it's good to realize, but it's also really funny to think that they would stop him. I really love how she throws the lasso on one of the henchmen trying to get information, and Raz does some sort of weird magic thing and makes him turn to sand.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I didn't know that was part of the skill set. Never seen it before.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of where you can have the leisure on these books, is because that continuity didn't ever introduce Ra's al Ghul, so you can literally do whatever you want with that character. And because 66 was as wacky as it was, you can kind of get away with this kind of thing. So he is mentally doing something, and it kind of shows that he is concentrating or whatever, and then all of a sudden this dude literally melts.
Nothing is as outrageous as bat shark repellent spray. So you're gold. You're gold with that.
See, I wonder, because
in the sandbox,
we will say a little spoiler for the issue 4 that we're still going to be talking about tonight. They are going to be teaming up with Wonder Woman, going to Paradise Island. So if they're on an island, I wonder if we'll see some sharks, and I wonder if we'll see the shark repellent. But we do get the old school banter, the holy, whatever Batman, and it's fun to read. Honestly, the art is very playful. I do enjoy this. The one thing I did bother me a little bit, and it's actually on the screen right now. I'll describe it for our listeners who aren't on YouTube watching this. In some of these panels, with Bruce, with Roz, with Wonder Woman, when there is something kind of just immediately happening to a character, there's a close-up on the panel, and they have an outline that is moved away from the character, so it kind of doubles up the picture, almost like you're looking at a old school red and blue 3D film without glasses. That's what it looks like. and it was a little bit annoying. But we see Bruce falling into a well and seeing what will eventually become the Batcave. I thought that was really cool.
Or what the start of any Batman movie, apparently, or the first Batman movie, because he falls
Yes.
in well at every one and finds a cave with bats.
Yes. So in the beginning of the 4th issue, he is yelling for help. One thing that I didn't know about Wonder Woman, which I feel like is something that was played off in other comics as well, I just didn't know this. Wonder Woman can speak to animals, and she actually, I had no idea about this whatsoever, but she does talk to these bats that were in the cave, and they tell her exactly where Bruce is. She goes in and she saves him from this Nazi who falls to his death, which I think is hilarious. Not because he dies, but later on in the comic, Bruce and Alfred are talking, and then in the background you see Robin like, "Hey, wait, did he fall to his death right here?" And like, because it's the Batcave, like he eventually makes it the Batcave. So a older Bruce eventually had to clean up the remains of an old Nazi to build his Batcave. Like, you don't really think about it, but that's just the way it is.
Maybe he survived.
Yeah,
I doubt it. But this is comics, so you don't see a body; it doesn't count. But yeah, that's the part of the show that Pud was talking about. Batman cleaning up after his messes.
Yeah. So the Nazis are taken away from the government, of course. They save the day. Bruce actually asks Wonder Woman for her autograph, and she says, "Well, Bruce, I expect I'll be asking for yours one day. You were very brave," and blah, blah, blah. And then it moves to the present where you actually see an older Bruce Wayne in the Bat costume. I thought that was really cool. And then they start talking about, okay, well, that means one of these books is still out there, and now Talia has the second one. And they have the symbol of the demon's head, meaning that this is a part of Ra's and everything else. And like I said at the very end, Bruce does say that he has to go to Paradise Island before Talia gets there to protect Wonder Woman and the Amazons. So that's how we will start the next issue. Now, what did you think overall with these?
I'm really enjoying it, to be honest with you, Clay. It takes me back to the show, the 66 show. I have as much of affinity for Wonder Woman 77, but the Batman 66 show is something, and I can hear the voices, the Robins, when he says, like, "Holy cow, Batman," or "Holy evildoer, Batman," like, and stuff like that. I hear, and Alfred's sass, all that. I hear all the voices from the cast, and that's just making this even more enjoyable for me.
Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with it as well. I'm not as harsh on it as other books because I know the content. I know what its audience is. I know exactly where they're wanting this story to go because of what it is built off of. This isn't just your normal Batman. This is Batman 60s. This is Adam West Batman. So it's going to get a little weird. It's going to get a little silly. And, it's just the way it is. And so because of that mindset, I'm actually able to enjoy this a lot more than I probably would have if I were to just jump in this not knowing what Batman 66 was.
They're also not asking you to commit to a long story either, which I think is a good way to do these one-offs. You're not making me collect 30 issues or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm just really thinking it's going at a great pace.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, listeners. I think that's it, Clay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for sorting through all that with us. I'm sure maybe next week we'll talk about something else that had seismic that changed.
Well, we did forget to state that the name of this merger is going to be announced before next episode. So we will probably have that to talk about. And hopefully, crossing our fingers, we will see the implosion of WB. Maybe.
Yeah. Every successful business venture has taken a week after announcement to give their name. Yeah, that does not make me as reassured for this as I once was. No, I'm just kidding. I'm interested in the name, and we'll have that for you immediately when we get it, folks. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, and we'll see you next week. Later, everyone.
See ya.
Yoo.